Hi everyone, welcome to March and what to sow without the aid of heat in March. It starts to get a little bit exciting now because things start warming up, and when I say things I mean mainly the soil, but also just the air around. Not today, because today is quite cold. We have got this sea fret that's come over the top of us, and it's cold. Always gets really, really cold. So it is only 5 degrees outside. Anyhow, doesn't matter. Let's crack on. You can always sow seeds. So first seed sowing in March is broad beans again. Last month I talked to you about sowing broad beans and how I sow broad beans, and that was in February, what to sow without the aid of heat. I will put a link up so that you can actually have a look and you'll see the varieties that I am growing. However, I do want to go outside and I will show you how I've staggered my broad beans. I've got ones that I've overwintered, they're the Domonica ones. Then I've got the Karmazin, which I've put in the garden now. I have another lot of Karmazin that I've just taken out to the veggie pod, and in the unheated greenhouse I have the Grande Violetto. So if you watch my video last month, I show you how I actually sow them, and you'll see the progression that they've made just in a month, really. So what am I going to do now with broad beans? I don't have enough. We eat so many broad beans, and I have acquired an allotment, which is absolutely fantastic. It's only just over a quarter, but it's great. And that means I can sow more broad beans, which is very exciting. So I've been deliberating whether I should grow them just by pushing them into the ground, or whether I should keep growing them in cells. But to tell you the truth, they're so easy to grow in these modules. They come up so quickly. I may as well just continue doing that. And if I want to, I'll just stick a few extra seeds in the ground. You'll see when I show you in the garden what I've done with the Domonica ones. I've stuck seeds in the garden. And yeah, so the broad beans good. So then I probably will get my Bunyard exhibition broad beans sown, which I haven't sown yet. They're always on the back burner just in case the other varieties don't work, because they always work, that variety. So these are the broad beans that are overwintered, and they're the Domonica ones that I showed you last month in February, that when I did the broad beans, growing broad beans. And as you can see, I mentioned that they had a few holes in them, and but the tops of them are looking quite good, and they're starting to flower, which is a little bit concerning, but hopefully the weather will warm up. And here are the bottoms coming as well. And then what I did was I directly sowed some more next to the actual plant. This plant is a little bit more ropey because I wanted to just see whether they would come up. And I can see, I've dug down a little bit, and I can actually see that the seed is swelling, and that means that there is a root below it, and that will work very, very nicely. So that's those. They're the overwintered ones. Let's go further down. These ones are the Karmazin that I showed you last month that I had in those modules, and I planted them out and they're doing really, really well. Here's another one just here. You can see they're quite large. So that is the next succession of broad beans, and I'll show you the next lot. This is the next lot here, and these are the Grande Violettos. You can see they're already that big. Doesn't take long. And these are in the unheated greenhouse. I moved them from the veggie pod. I'm now going to go to the veggie pod and show you the next lot. So in the veggie pod, I've just put these in here this morning. I've had them inside, and they're ready to come into the veggie pod. These are Karmazin again. Yes, they are. So that's the next lot coming. And what I'm going to do is I will now re-sow directly. I'll do another lot of these, and then I'm going to re-sow directly into my allotment, which I have just got. Yippee! Right, next up, beetroot. Last month I sowed Burpee's golden beetroot in some cells. They came up really well. Again, they're in my video. Then something happened, and I think it just got too cold, and the plants started dying. So I've got about 8 left that I've put out in the veggie pod. They seem to be doing okay. And now what I'm thinking is, because I've got an allotment, I'm thinking of direct sowing beetroot now. They've never worked here at home because I have raised beds, and they tend to get too dry in the raised beds. So I'm going to try and do some on the allotment, and I will also do some more in cells. I've just sown some cylindrical ones in cells. They're the long ones. So, you know, keep going with the beetroot. I will get it one day, that's for sure. Next up is broccoli Calabrese. I'll show you those, they're upstairs. So next up is Calabrese. And you know how I said that my Calabrese hadn't come up? I was wrong. It was actually my rapini. It hasn't come up. And I think it was because the seed was too old. I will give it another go. And if it doesn't work, now I've got Jiffy pellets, which I will show you in a minute. I'm going to try again with the rapini. But I will show you my Calabrese. That's come up. That will be ready to pot on pretty soon. And I've also got Romanesco, which is ready to pot on now, and that's come up as well. Let's have a look. Here is the Calabrese. That's all coming. There's some new ones coming in there, which is very good as well. And here is the Romanesco there. You can see it's starting to form true leaves, so that has to be potted on as well. And I'm very happy that I have an allotment now, because I actually didn't know where I was going to put these brassicas. So that's excellent. So now I've got the allotment, I can grow Brussels sprouts. How exciting. That's very exciting. Well, I'll get a few plants in. I mean, like I said, the allotment's not that big. So I'll shove in what I can. And actually, because I've never been able to grow Brussels sprouts before, I don't really have any seeds. But I do have one. I did find one packet of seeds that I got from my Kitchen Garden magazine, and they're called Darkmar 21. They say it's a traditional Bedfordshire type, and very popular with people. So they are going to go in, definitely. Brussels sprouts. Okay, next, cabbage. So cabbages, I showed you again last month what varieties I was growing, and I want to show you what I've got outside that I overwintered, which is the Durham Early, and then I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to show you, excuse me, what is coming up. Here you go. So this is what I've overwintered. This is called Durham Early, this cabbage, and some of the smaller plants I just replanted from another bed, but there's a few big ones that are doing well, and I need to give them a feed, which I will do as well. So that's what I've got outside. And here you can just see in my Jiffy there, starting to germinate. This is the Calabrese. This is the red cabbage that I showed you last month. Which is not going to take that long to grow. These Jiffy pods are absolutely fantastic. See, there is a seed there. You can just see the seed on top. And what I've learnt is don't cover them up. There we are. That's germinating. How fantastic is that? Yay. All right, now let's talk about carrots. So last month I talked about some early carrots that you could put in, which were not, I think I planted some of these little round ones and I put them in a trough, and some of them have come up. It's a bit kind of hit and miss with them. But I have actually just started to plant my proper carrots in the veggie pod, because this year I am going to grow them in the veggie pod because I really suffer here with carrot fly. I've mentioned it before, and I don't want to risk it over at the allotment, because when we were over there, we were cleaning up the allotment, we pulled out some carrots. They looked like they were yellow ones, and they were full of carrot fly. And these particular varieties of carrots that I'm doing this year, I don't want to lose, because firstly, I don't have a great deal of seed, and secondly, you know, I'd like to be a little bit successful with carrots. Anyhow, the ones that I've just planted in the veggie pod is a carrot called Black Nebula. I was really lucky to get some of these seeds from a fellow Instagrammer when we did a seed swap. And there's not many, so I've sown them really, really thinly in the veggie pod. Nothing's come up yet because unfortunately the temperatures have dropped. So I'm going to have to wait. It'll take a little bit longer. This carrot is probably one of the darkest carrots you can get, and it's full apparently of antioxidants. It's very, very sweet. I've seen it around quite a lot. So that's why I wanted to try it. And if it is successful, then I'm going to have to let a few go to seed. So they're gone in the veggie pod. If you want, look, if you've got great soil, the thing is with roots is that you need to work the soil before you plant any of the roots. Otherwise, unless of course you don't care whether they fork or whether they come out looking monstrous, which is quite nice nowadays. You know, if you've got a really, really heavy soil, which I have got at the allotment, it's just unbelievable, the soil. It really needs a lot of work. Then you will, I mean, you put in shorter varieties perhaps. However, carrot fly is a problem. So I think you have to actually put mesh on top of the carrots the whole way through its life, from the first sowing all the way through, and keep the mesh on top. And I'm talking really fine mesh so the carrot fly does not get in. I mean, they say that carrot fly doesn't fly any higher than, is it 2 foot? I'm not sure about that, because I've had troughs of carrots on tables before and, you know, high up, and they still get to them. So if I do grow them in troughs, I am going to net everything this year so that the carrot fly doesn't get to it. By the way, carrot fly also loves radishes and parsley and sometimes parsnips, just to let you know. So that's my first one. Next one I probably will do this month. So I'll do them, what I usually do with seeds is, as they come up, I then start sowing the next lot. They usually say in the summer, in the spring and summer, every 2 weeks or so. Sometimes it's a little bit longer because I forget, or I've got other things to do, but I do try, especially with my lettuce, I do try and keep up with it all the time. Otherwise you'll find that you get to, you know, in the middle of the season and you don't have anything. You're waiting for it. So what I'm going to do is, in a couple of weeks' time, I will sow my next lot of carrot. And this carrot I got from the States, and it's called New Kuroda. And it's from Baker Creek Seeds, one of my favorite seed companies. Apparently, it's not very big, this carrot. It's quite squat. They say that it's one of the tastiest carrots that you can get, which is fine by me. And it's a Japanese variety. I'm all into Japanese stuff this year, as you can tell. The great thing about these packets is you get so many seeds in these packets. So they're going to go into the next thing, probably the veggie pod, because I'm slowly taking stuff out of that and I will be sowing into that. So they're the two that I'm going to do. The other one that I'm thinking I might do is, it depends on the weather. I probably won't actually, I probably will only do the two. But there's one here that I've been looking for and now I can't find it. I'll show you next month, and if I plant it this month, I will bring it out and show you then. Here is the next thing on the list, which is cauliflowers, and I've potted them on. This is called Digessi, and I'm sorry about the noise, but that is Mr. N, my husband, practicing. So, and it's just above me actually. So as you can see, they're coming on nicely and they're getting true leaves. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. I think I might plant another variety as well and see what we can fit over the allotment. These are going to be ready to go into, I've got a greenhouse on the allotment, by the way, everybody, when we put the glass panes in there later on this week. So another thing I can grow now that I have an allotment is, so it's come onto my list, is celeriac. I showed you last month the celery that I was going to grow, and nothing's come up yet because I haven't really pushed it. I haven't watered it. It's still down here in the basement. But celery you can grow now as well, and pop it in. There's a couple of really nice varieties. I like the red variety. There's a pink one that I like as well. And again, they're in my other video. And, you know, rather than me repeat myself, it's just a bit boring, isn't it? So, celeriac, there really is only one that I will grow, which is called Giant Prague. It is really, really large. And with celeriac, there's so much that you have to chop away to actually get to the center of it. You may as well grow something big. It's really nice in all sorts of things, in gratins, in fried, you know, all that kind of stuff. And if you are interested, I've done a few recipes actually in What's in Season I Hear You Ask, which is my other YouTube videos that I do, which is seasonal stuff that I grow or that I buy and then that I cook, and because I do love celeriac. So yeah, celeriac and celery. Again, this time of year is great to start growing herbs, so you can start adding new herbs. Chives, whack them in now, fantastic. Normal chives, garlic chives, or they call them Chinese chives. That's another thing that is really, really good this time of year. You can start your dill if you like dill. I find that with dill, it has a tendency, I always grow it in a pot, and actually what I might do this year, because I've got an allotment, you'll be sick of me saying that, I might actually try and direct sow it round the greenhouse of the allotment and see what happens. But normally I grow it in a pot, and we love dill, so I grow a lot of it. It has, like I said, it has a tendency to go to seed quite quickly, but it doesn't really matter because the little flowers are edible as well. It's just beautiful stuff. So dill you can grow. Lemongrass I mentioned last month, but that has to go on heat. Things like marjoram, sorrel, borage. I've got one plant came up with borage upstairs, but borage I've got in the garden. It self-seeds all the time. Once you put one borage plant in, you will get a million of them coming up. What else? Parsley you can start sowing now as well. None of this needs heat. what was I going to say? Most of my herbs I buy as plants, like my marjoram. I've only got the golden marjoram that's in the garden, and I buy things as pots usually. But I always sow parsley seeds. I sow a few borage seeds. I always sow dill. I talked about basil last month as well, and that was in the one with heat, that you need heat. So yeah, get your herbs in. They'll take really, really quickly this time of year. So yeah. Okay, and the next up is kale, but I need to go upstairs and I need to show you what I've got coming up first, and then we'll talk about what I'll plant next. There we are. That's what I want to show you. And again, I apologise about the noise, but Mr. N is next door now practicing. And if you haven't noticed, he's an opera singer. So he's been doing a lot of practice. Okay, this here is blue curled Scotch kale. And this is one of the first things that I put in my Jiffy pads. And look at this. How fantastic these are. No wastage. Actually, I've even got 2 seeds in there. No wastage with these Jiffies. They are so, so good. And so I've got quite a few coming up and quite a few more germinating, which is really nice. And underneath it, this is the borage that I was talking to you about. Oh dear. These Jiffy things are great. Really great. So yes, so that's my first sort of kale coming up. I will show you what I will be growing next. All right, so that was the one upstairs, which was the blue curled Scotch. I'll show you a photo of that. The next lot that is going in is going to be curly scarlet kale. What I find with this one is it's a little bit more, it's not as robust as the other curly kale, the green curly kale. But I had a bed of kale last year, and it was probably one of the best growing veg we had. And in that bed, I had the dwarf curly, green curly kale. I then had this one, and then I had the Nero di Toscana, or the Cavolo Nero. And actually, I still have Cavolo Nero in the garden. I mean, it needs to be picked because it is looking a little bit like a palm tree. But so curly scarlet is going in next, and then I am going to definitely do some Cavolo Nero because that is the kale that we eat the most. There is another one that I am going to do this year that I got again from Baker Creek Seeds, and I just love the look of it. It is called Casper. So that's another one that's going to go in. But kale is one of the best growing green veg you can have, and that will be grown, you'll see, because I will continue these videos every month. That is going to be grown successionally through the year for us, because we don't, that and chard is something that we grow all the time. And you know, I haven't got any chard seeds on the go at the moment because I've got so many plants in the garden that, and they're very, very quick to germinate as well. So yes, kale, that's the next thing. Right, let's continue. Back with roots again. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to put in this month, and I've already done some small cells. They're about this big, the cells, a little bit smaller actually, because I was going to put them in my Jiffy pellets, and then I ran out of Jiffy pellets, so I had to order some more, is Kohlrabi. Now, Kohlrabi, I love Kohlrabi. It's a brassica, and it's a relative of the cabbage, actually. That's the brassica, but you eat the bulb of the Kohlrabi. It's becoming a little bit more popular actually now. I was brought up with it because I come from a European family and we always ate kohlrabi. So the one that I have planted already is called, where's my kohlrabi? Here it is. It's called White Delicacy. I've got them in these seeds, but I'll show you a picture. I did the purple delicacy last year, but I've got a different purple one this year. So I've done this year I'm doing the white delicacy. So they've kind of like got very, very uniform, very smooth roots, and very, very delicious and very tender. Excuse me, as well. The other one that I'm doing is called this one, again from Baker Creek Seeds, and it is called Early Purple Vienna. That's the purple one I'm going to do this year. So purple and white kohlrabi. I quite like kohlrabi when you chop it up and you just sprinkle a little bit of sugar on it and then caramelize it in the oven. Nice. So that's the kohlrabi. We're doing that. Then, because I've also got my allotment, I am going to do some leeks. And I don't usually do leeks because they're pretty prolific in this area. So I just get them from the farm shop. But there are a few varieties that I'm quite interested in with leeks. And let me just move this thing here. Oops, I'll move it back again. Got all this stuff inside of me. The first one that I'm going to do is called De Carentan. There. Is that back to the front? It's probably back to the front. De Carentan. They're long, very vigorous growing. And they're a old European variety that are really, really, really popular. So they are going in. The next one that I'm going to do is, just for fun really, is called Bulgarian Giant. And I want to see how big these get, because these Bulgarian giants can become really, really long. So that's just an experiment, something for fun. Why not? Leeks. Yes, so that's leeks.